Well, today is the last Sunday, the last church service of 2025. What a year. A question for you all, I raised it earlier. Has anyone made any New Year's resolutions this year? Do we get to know what it is?
I had to turn my mic back on.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I've signed myself up for a strength training course three times a week.
Great.
That's my New Year's resolution.
Hey. Other ones that people sometimes have: less sweets, less deep-fried foods, more exercise, better money management. Well, God be with you. With an 80% failure rate on New Year's resolutions, according to a study that I found, you're going to need all the help you can get.
It's why I signed up with a course where they sign saying you're going to stay the course.
There it is. Money. There it is. Well, today we are looking at a famous piece of the Christmas story, but it's not a very joyful piece, is it? Now, on brand for me, I'm going to give you some historical context. So the massacre in Bethlehem, did it actually physically occur? Well, the short answer is maybe. It is certainly plausible and in line with Herod the Great's character. The man murdered 6 of his own family members, including his wife, 3 of his sons, his wife's mother, and her grandmother, out of fear that his throne would be usurped. The idea that a prophesied Messiah would one day take his throne absolutely could have prompted the paranoid vassal king to massacre a village of peasant infants. If it did happen, Matthew's the only gospel with any record of it. Mark, Luke, and John do not say anything about it. And for what it's worth, the extra-biblical historian Josephus also doesn't mention it. It's also worth noting that Matthew did not set out to create an historically accurate account of history here. The gospel is a theological work filled with literary devices intended to convince a largely Jewish audience that Jesus is the Messiah they've all been waiting for. Notice in our text 3 times Matthew's insistence that prophecy has been fulfilled. He does that 12 times in this gospel among a total of 68 Old Testament quotes. This was written by a Jew for Jews. Now, regardless of whether it happened or not, it certainly is reasonable that fear of the event would have been sufficient to drive Joseph, Mary, and their child away from the very real threat. And so, this small, vulnerable, brown-skinned boy from modern-day Palestine lives as a refugee and an immigrant in Egypt. Pause. Sidebar. I want to touch on something that's been bothering me for some time now. About a month ago, just around the corner from my home, a group of 28 young white men lined up on a bridge and held a demonstration, waving the flag of Second Sons Canada, a white supremacist group, and a banner demanding remigration now, which is only a slightly sanitized call for mass deportations of immigrants and refugees by force of arms. Thankfully, the message is still unpopular enough that they all hid their faces while spouting their hatred. But the idea that these kids, and they were kids, some couldn't have been older than 16 years old, would be so thoroughly misinformed and deceived into blaming the most vulnerable for the sins of the most powerful is a daunting thought. Just in case they're watching, I'm going to make the deception very easy to see. It is not because of the immigrants that you have fear for your future, kid. It's because of the billionaires taking advantage of you. Now, as we've just determined, these refugees, these immigrants, bear the image of Christ, perhaps more than any other group in the world today, especially in light of today's passage. Now, in the face of such societal failure, what are we to do? This past year, a person that I had considered a friend, an acquaintance, passed away at 80 years old. He was a person I debated with a great deal. All right, not an acquaintance. He was a theological rival. I liked him personally. Aside from some of his more offensive beliefs that he held, particularly around Israel's actions in Palestine, he had a theology that he turned to for comfort, which he would share with me whenever we talked about the suffering of the world. He would get this look on his face and he would go, "One day Jesus will come back and he will right all wrongs and cleanse the world of sin and pain." Okay, look, sometimes situations exist that you have no control over, no means to address. Sometimes suffering happens around the world or even next door that you simply cannot solve or even assuage in any way. Now, in psychology, there's a skill called radical acceptance that helps people maintain healthy psychology in the face of such powerlessness. And that skill can help you to avoid mental breakdown and maintain emotional maturity and stability in the face of unsolvable issues. If the way you do that is by raising your eyes to heaven and praying, "Maranatha, come Lord Jesus," and in that way leaving that worry and anxiety at the feet of God, I'm not here to tell you that you've done something wrong. There's a whole prayer about it that some of you might even have framed on your wall in your home. "God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference." That prayer captures the wisdom of radical acceptance really well, and believing that let go and let God can be a great help in coping with problems in your own personal life. But there is a difference, isn't there, between having the serenity to accept what cannot be changed and having the courage to change what can be. And I take issue with theology that lays societal problems, especially societal failures, at the feet of God. When a group of white supremacists stands around the corner from my home and calls for the violent expulsion of the vulnerable from my country with no care to their rights or safety, I don't get to sit back, wring my hands for a few minutes about it, and then raise my hands to God and go, "Well, when Jesus comes back, he will wipe away all our tears and set everything right." At the very least, I don't get to stop there. And, if I may, too many Christians do. Too many good people of all faiths do. Too many people of no faith do. I'm getting close to something about certain aspects of theology that I believe can be dangerous. You see, a community that believes only that they need a Savior is a community that will have no strength to better itself. A community that waits in helplessness for a divine intervention to fix everything will stand helplessly aside while preventable suffering and injustice goes on unchecked and unchallenged. My late debate partner, God rest his soul, uttered that hope for a future where someone else fixes the world in the face of our moral failures regarding our unhoused poor. Our failure to curb greed, our failure to hold political corruption to account, our failure to provide basic necessities of safe communal living, like clean drinking water, to indigenous communities in our nation, our failure to divest, boycott, and sanction oppressors in Palestine and around the world, and our failure to honor our role as caretakers of the environment in our nation. His sentiments are echoed in the mouths of Christian faithful almost everywhere. And so, here we remain with social injustices that we know are solvable, and we know that the solutions are shockingly simple, though admittedly not easy. And thus, the theology of someone else is coming to save us all infects the way we converse with each other, the way we advocate with our elected leaders, assuming we bother with that at all, the way we extend kindness and charity to the less fortunate, the way we use whatever societal privilege, rank, or station we might have been born into, the way we vote, the way we donate, and ultimately the way we believe evil ought to be addressed, if we even concede that it can be addressed at all. I'll say it bluntly, it's a cop-out. In today's passage, we find Jesus the immigrant. Jesus, the refugee. Jesus, brown skin and all, hiding from the violence of a Judean political ruler. When Jesus grows up in chapter 25 of Matthew's gospel, he will tell a story to his followers, a story about a better society and the traits that will be included in it. He will paint a picture of heaven itself as a nation accepting immigrants on the following principles. I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. This is what Jesus preached for, what he lived for, what he died for. In this nation are a people who reach out with their own hands to make a better world. In this country are a people who take accountability and ownership for the well-being of everyone. In this land are a people who know their neighbors as beautifully different from themselves and make themselves with those neighbors a beautiful tapestry of divergent cultures, ethnicities, religions, genders, sexual orientations, languages, and practices bound together by mutual respect, equity, justice, and love. But Phoenix, you say, we're not in heaven. We're here. As lovely as the country you describe is, it is not here. And here is the real mic drop. Yes, it is here. It's right here. Look around you. We have the resources, the people, the capacity, the knowledge, the means. We have all the pieces. We just need to put them together. This incredible, beautiful, stunning rock that we're flying through space on is chock full of everything we could ever possibly need to accomplish the world Jesus asks us to build. We lack only the will. Only the choice. Like all amazing things that grow, this will start with an egg or a seed. Maybe it starts with a conversation. Maybe it starts with a donation. Maybe it starts with a kind word. Maybe it starts with hearing this message and being reminded that hope is possible, even now, especially now. Maybe it starts with looking up and realizing that we aren't alone here. Plans have already been laid. Plans like the Green New Deal, an initiative that everyone in this room should familiarize themselves with and put pressure on their elected officials about. There are people right now working for that world, and we could join them. Maybe it starts with learning about those plans and those people. Question for you all. Has anyone made any New Year's resolutions? Let me suggest one. Believe. Believe that we are not powerless. Believe that we do not have to wait for someone else to fix this world. Believe that Jesus wanted us to build the world that he advocated for. Believe that we can be like Jesus in the way we work for that world. Believe that we have room for the stranger, for the immigrant, for the refugee, for that brown-skinned boy who fled to Egypt for safety and later gave his life for the world he believed in. Believe that together we can overcome the voices of the hateful who have been deceived into thinking that the vulnerable are responsible for the sins of the powerful. Believe in yourself, in your neighbor, in your community, and in the work I am calling you to for the year 2026. And then go do that work and believe that if you sow it, you will reap it. God bless you in 2026.